Hello, hello, hello. We're here with Gold Oleka. We're on the IGR podcast. It gets real. Just to let you guys know, this is one of my sisters in Christ, someone I met recently, and someone who I just think is phenomenal. She's got a great voice. She's got a great attitude about life, about her work ethic, the things of God, being Black, being African, all of that. So she's here today. We're going to talk about some stuff. What's going on, Gold? How are you?
Hello, it gets real. So he already said my name's Gold. I'm from Hillside, New Jersey, and I'm a first generation American.
Yes.
I'm a first generation American. I'm from Nigeria. What else can I specify? Oh yeah, I go to Temple University in Philadelphia, and and I'm about to be a graduating senior. My major is psych pre-med, and I'm on the pre-med track to go to med school.
Yes, yes. Dos plus uno plus. So where do you want to go to school after you leave Temple?
So it's actually, during this quarantine, I've actually been like really trying to figure out if I actually want to go the med school route or the grad school route. And it's really just about, I was really thinking about it like medical school, the debt, like I would be $800,000 in debt. I could do that. Or I know that's a lot of money. Or I could go to grad school and become a clinical psychologist, and I'll probably just be like $80,000 in debt, which is a huge difference.
It's definitely a huge difference. That's actually the route that my mom took, primarily something like that. But she's a clinical psychologist as well, and she loves it. So I definitely think it's a good route. Save some bread, but go for your dreams. Go big.
Yeah, definitely the clinical psych route. And it actually even ties into like, even my faith as well.
Jump right into it. Boom.
And I don't even I was thinking about it, like if I became a psychiatrist, like a medical doctor, I would have to prescribe medication to people. And I'm thinking like, does that go with my values? Like, do I really believe that medication is going to really help people, knowing my background about how spirituality and mental health play a part in people? Really, medication doesn't really help. So it's like, I'm not going to go into that profession if I know that it's deeper than me prescribing the medication. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So if you were to go into that, you're saying that there's different challenges that you wouldn't be able to sit with and be
Yeah.
okay with as a professional.
Yeah. It'll just really be like, and like I have a lot of questions that are never answered. Like I'll talk to psychiatrists and I'm like, so how do you deal with a patient who, like Christian psychiatrists specifically, like how do you deal with a patient? They come to you and they tell you, well, I feel like I feel like I hear voices in my head and they're always telling me to go kill someone. And what do I do about this? I'm going to sit there like, okay, like I could prescribe you antipsychotics. But at the end of the day, like spiritually, I know that there's something deeper wrong with you. And I know me prescribing this to you isn't really going to help. So it's like, I ask those questions to some psychiatrists and they're like, oh, well, okay, well, in that case, you have to know that sometimes you have to take off the Christian hat and just put on the therapist hat and do therapy from there. And I'm like, okay, but like, how can I make it both work together? That's always been a problem for me.
Wow, that's amazing. Honestly, you sound a lot, not to keep bringing about my mom, but you sound a lot about how she approaches it. I mean, just from the own story that she tells me, it's more of she has to do that. She has to take off that hat. You know what I mean? That prayer warrior, that minister, she has to sort of take off that hat and not put it down, but sort of hold it in her hand and say, okay, even though I have to treat you under this lens, I can still put that message of goodness and godness and some sort of at least alternative routes to, like you said, prescribing medication or just putting you on drugs and you fucking shit up, to be honest.
Yeah.
You talked about Christianity, so I think let's jump right into it. You have a YouTube, right? What's the name of your YouTube? Drop it for the people.
It's just my name, Gold Oleka. That's it. You'll find me real easy. I'm the only gold on YouTube, probably.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and what do you do with that? So, like, what's your message behind that? How to get started?
So I didn't plan on having YouTube, honestly. It just happened. I made my testimony video, which was about me dabbling. This sounds really crazy, but I used to be a witch. I hate saying that because it sounds really crazy, but
Define
realistic.
that for like people who don't know, because like I know when you say that, but like for
Okay, so for those who don't know, like basically, somebody who practices um a lot of spirituality, and spirituality is just basically like, you're trying to be one with the universe, those hippie type things, like they meditate, they use like,
understand what you're saying, yeah.
yeah, like crystals, like they just, it's like a lot of paganism. It's modern day paganism, if that makes sense. And a lot
Hmm.
of people like our age are falling into that, and they don't really know that what they're doing is just like low key modern day witchcraft, like, like doing full moon, new moon rituals, manifesting, getting into like the law of attraction. um what else? It's a lot. Tarot cards, astrology, like all of that stuff is actually like really not good. It's really not good stuff. And I was doing all of it, and it was going well for me until I realized that something, it was, and why, until I got deeper with God.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. You're saying that goes against your religion, and you
Yeah,
were practicing that. So when you came, did you come back to Christianity, or did you find it was it new for you? How was that
it
switch?
was it was kind of like, all right, so I was brought up in a Catholic household. I went to a Catholic
Hmm.
elementary school until like sixth grade, and I didn't really like religion. I didn't like it. I felt like people were very judgmental. I couldn't be myself. Like I would go to church and feel like people are always judging me. And I'm like, if this is what it means to follow God, then I don't like it, and I'm gonna do it my own way. And I'm gonna figure out my own way that works for me, because y'all not showing me what it really means to really like follow God.
Church hurt,
So
right? Would you describe
yeah,
it as that? Yeah.
yeah, basically church hurt. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do my own thing and figure out my own way of living life, how I want to do it.
Mm,
And
that's super.
yeah. So like I was just like, you know what, let me just try. I'm a learner. Like I really love to learn about the world, different understandings, different perspectives. Like I could go on and on just learning and learning, which is good but also dangerous, because I was starting to learn things that I wasn't supposed to necessarily get into.
Oh,
And
okay. What do you mean by that? So like I just want to say, so you're
mm,
saying that there's danger in the learning, or you shouldn't have gone too deep? Because me
mm,
personally, I personally see the value in simply understanding and learning, and sort of diving deep and saying, okay, what is this, so I know at least what I'm for or what I'm against. You saying you got too far into it and you just began to identify with it?
yes,
Okay.
basically I got too deep into it. And it was that, and also because like that time of my life, specifically around my sophomore year of high school, I started dealing with a lot of anxiety. Like I started
Mm.
getting really bad severe anxiety out of nowhere. And like it's kind of hard dealing with anxiety in an African household, because they don't really understand what you're going through. And it was really bad anxiety. um so I had to go to therapy for it, maybe like once, or I only went to therapy twice. I couldn't do it, which is ironic. It's really the irony, because I'm gonna be a therapist, like psychologist,
Yeah,
but
that's
I personally couldn't be yeah, I personally couldn't be counseled. um so
why
I was
not though. So what if we could dive a little deeper into that? Why were you hesitant? Did you just what I mean, not want to open up, sort of?
my psychologist was trash, that's why. Like he was
What do you
horrible.
mean by that? Yeah.
I was like, bro, when I went to him, I'm like, this is exactly how I'm not going to be when I become a psychologist. Like, that's what made me want to do it more. Because I'm like, if people are seeing people like him, I can see why they're not getting well. Like, it was just kind of like, when I walked in his office, I remember one session, he just played, I was telling him what I was going through, and he went on YouTube and he played Don't Worry, Be Happy. And he was like, yo, sometimes you could just listen to this when you're not feeling well. And I'm looking at him like, are you really playing this thinking that it's going to make me feel better? Or like, it just,
Okay, so I see what you mean. You didn't want sort of that, kid glove approach. You wanted something a bit more heavy, dive deeper. You actually wanted to open up, and he was a bit different.
It wasn't like, it wasn't hitting it for me. Like I was like, this isn't going to help. Um, so basically, like he started introducing to me different like self-help remedies, and he was like, oh well, why don't you try meditation and mindfulness and like Buddhism teaching. So he started introducing to me Buddhism and like meditation and like aligning your chakras and all that stuff. So that's where I really started getting deeper into it, because at that point I'm not only trying to do it to learn, but I'm trying to do it to attain inner peace, because I didn't have any peace at that moment of my life.
And
You
you're
know,
saying that, just to relate that back to what you're saying, and you're saying that's witchcraft, and you sort of like self-proclaimed witch in that way, or?
well, I wasn't getting, I mean, that I wasn't deep into it then. Like that was just, that's just the beginning of like when I
Okay.
started, that's just like the inch of the iceberg. When I started getting deep into it, I was like, oh snap, like I could just do meditation and I could do the whole chakra thing and align my chakras and do all that stuff. And like, I'm gonna start feeling inner peace again. Like I'm not gonna feel as anxious as I used to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ultimately doing it just to get this sense of peace that I was missing since I started having like all that anxiety and stuff. So every time I felt like the feeling wasn't going away, I'm like, I must not be doing something right. So let me get deeper into it. So that's when I was getting deeper into it. And I was like, okay, well, let me start. They say that crystals are cool. So let me start buying crystals and like maybe those will help too. So I started meditating with crystals, which are actually really bad. Like, there's like a lot of spirits attached to things I didn't really know about, which I don't know how deep we're gonna go, but I don't want to get too deep. It's gonna be too long. um,
Well, I
but
mean, I think this is a very interesting subject, and it connects to your story and your journey. So, I mean, we can definitely go for a little bit.
okay. So yeah, like I started buying the crystals and stuff, and like I started watching certain YouTube gurus um who knew a lot about this stuff, and they were like teaching me a lot. And they were basically just saying like debunking the Bible, saying that the Bible is man-made and that we don't need that, and how Jesus really was just a spiritual guru that was teaching people how to live an enlightened lifestyle. And I was like, that makes mad sense. I don't like church anyway. Like I don't want to, like
Mm-hmm.
I was with it. And that was when I was like, okay, it was weird because I was thinking it was making me feel better, but it really wasn't. And that's when I started getting deeper. I'm like, maybe I need to like start smoking weed and stuff. So I started smoking weed and I became a heavy weed smoker.
So you were just looking for answers, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just looking for something that made me feel at peace. Cause like I said, I didn't feel that peace in so long. And it's like to be someone who
Mm.
wasn't born, like to be someone who wasn't born with anxiety, who wasn't born feeling that way, who was always just like open and like all that stuff, to going from one
Yeah.
day the opposite, it felt crazy, you know? It didn't feel good at all. So I just wanted to feel normal again. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just keep going. I must still not be doing something right. And
So how'd
that's
that change though? So how did you then turn back and get back into Christianity and sort of have the beliefs that you have now about it? Because from what I'm getting, it's very strong beliefs in what you weren't doing was right, and how'd you
yeah.
get back into that?
So one day I was, it was actually around this time last year. I had just came back from Hampton. I was like, it was summer, and I was just home. And like one day I just came across, like I had a lot of Christian friends. The funny thing is I had Christian friends all around me. When I was at Hampton, my roommate was like a heavy church fiend. My best friend in school was a pastor's daughter. I had mad Christian friends around me, but none of them ever like got through to me ever. Like, I
Hmm.
was doing my own thing. And I even had one of my Christian friends come up and tell me like, Gold, like I had a dream about you, and like I want to tell you what this dream was. And like it would be like a prophetic dream.
Whoa.
And then I would just be like, what is she talking about? Like, because I'm not Christian. Like I'll just be like, she's probably like, I don't know what she's like, what is she talking about? And the dreams would be very, very specific. And it would be like God would be bothering her to continuously give me dreams, and she just wasn't listening. And I didn't understand what that meant, because I'm like, God's talking to you? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I kind of just saw it as like, well, the universe could talk to anyone, or I was just very like spiritual, universal minded. Like, I wasn't thinking about anything like that. I thought Christianity was too specific. I don't know. So, yeah, I came home one day, and basically I had friends on Instagram who kept posting testimonies about people who were like getting into like new age beliefs, and that they were actually demonic. And I'm like, what are they talking about? It's not demonic. Like, it makes me feel at peace and blah, blah, blah. And like, I started watching the testimony videos, and some girls would be like, when they bought their first deck of tarot cards, or when they started getting deep into like certain like incantations and chants, like they started feeling like a spiritual presence around them. And that like when they realized that all this stuff was demonic and they threw it out, they started getting like attacked spiritually by the same things that were once helping them, once they like brought Jesus into their life. And I was like, oh, that's mad creepy. Like, what are they talking about? And I decided to search it on my own. And I didn't know there was a name for it, but it's called New Age. Like, I had no idea there was a name for it, you know? And I went on YouTube and I did my own research. And the weirdest thing happened. Like, I came across a video of this man who I used to watch when I was younger, who put me onto all of that stuff, right? And now
All of the new age stuff?
yes, he put me
Okay.
on since I was younger, and now he's making a video saying how it's demonic and how he denounced it.
Whoa. So it's like, so now that you see people who put you on and they're off, did you feel like you were duped, or you should maybe just follow them again? Like, did you know what I mean? So like, moving back into Christianity, did you feel like this guy who led me to this thing, it turned out to be wrong? Did you feel like Christianity would be wrong too, or?
It was kind of like I had to watch the video first. So I watched a couple of his videos, and it just made so much sense. The way he broke it down, and like the way he broke down, and I wasn't trying to ignore the signs I was getting. So what he was saying mixed with what I was already hearing, and I'm like, yo, this might just be right. But I wasn't sold yet. I was like, I guess, but maybe like there's another side to it, that maybe this is just very biased, you know, like I just need my own answers from it. So that day, I was very uncomfortable that whole day. It felt really weird. And like I said, I was really into that stuff. So like I kind of had like a shrine of stuff on my table. Like I had a shrine basically of like, I didn't even think it was a shrine until I looked at it one day. I'm like, yo, I have a shrine in my room, like of crystals, sage, Palo Santo. I had astrology books, crystal books, my manifesting journal, like and did this bowl that I did like new moon and full moon rituals on. And I looked at what I was doing. I'm like, wait, what the hell am I doing? Like, this just turned into something completely crazy. I didn't even think it was going to get into. Like, I didn't even realize how deep I got into it, like, you know? And
So
like that,
did you, yeah, go ahead, finish.
oh yeah. And like, that's the trick, because it's like, it starts off small, but then like, you find yourself getting deeper and deeper and deeper into like a spiritual little weird hole. It's so weird.
So
Yeah.
with your experience with that and going so deep and feeling, I wouldn't say feeling so wrong about it, but realizing that, okay, I'm so deep on this end. So then
Mm-hmm.
when you come back to Christianity, did you feel like, or have you found that you've gone complete 180 and super, super deep on the other side?
Yes, definitely.
So you're a woman of two extremes.
I guess so. Yeah. I guess that you could say it like that, because I feel like this is my theory. Well, not theory, this is my belief. I think that God specifically wanted me to go through that deeply, because he knew that with all the knowledge I learned from that, I could get deeper into him when I came back. So it's kind of like imagine being a spy. Like, he sent me to be a spy for the enemy for a little bit, and then like I shifted over back to him, and I'm like, now I can report all the things that he could be doing, because I was already there doing it. So there's nothing that could go past me at this point. I've seen it all.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's huge. That's super huge. That's definitely heavy.
Yeah. Sorry, I
So
don't know.
no, definitely. I mean, I want to thank you for opening up about that, because that's some serious stuff, and that's some stuff that I know a lot of people wouldn't even want to open up about. So thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, we definitely are getting real, for sure. Um, so with Christianity, you said you found your way back. I really just want to track your progress back there. So you found your way back. You're saying you're all the way on this other side. So where are you now in your walk, and how do you sort of have keep these blinders on and go forward, or do you fall back into traps? Like how are you dealing with Christianity now?
So I could say that I'm doing pretty well because after I put out my testimony video and I broke down what happened to me, how it happened, I actually started talking to like a lot of females, like people who I never met in my life on YouTube, like a girl from Alabama, one girl from Florida, and like certain females that reached out to me telling me that like my story sounded just like theirs and that they
Wow.
actually really needed help. Yeah. And like there was like a lot of people who commented on that video, but there was only specific people that I knew I was supposed to talk to and help. So I started talking to them, and like now it's kind of like I have like a group chat with them, these girls, and like I'm actually helping them transition from doing what they were doing to coming to Christianity like the way I did.
Wow, that's huge. Anything else you got going on?
I'm trying to like make more content for YouTube. I'm kind of really just focused on it's a lot of stuff. Like I'm trying to focus on like making relatable content still because like I do want people to come to Christ, but I want them to be relatable so they could like come in. Um, I'm trying to focus on campus ministry. I got campus ministry stuff going on too. So I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna focus on my YouTube stuff, but then I can focus on campus ministry because I'm going back to school soon and I want to have my own Bible study small group. And it's just like a few things that like, I'm trying to plan out in a way, but I feel like, yeah, that's basically what I got going on right now. And
So
the group chat that we're in, which is amazing.
yes, it's actually a very good group chat. It's a good community.
Mhm.
Do you think that there's any drawbacks to sort of being too deep, or maybe not surrounding yourself at all with any people who are, as Christians say, in the world?
Yes, that is, I really don't think you should have all Christian friends, to be honest, because realistically, like, I don't think God called us to just only be around each other. Like, we only are like this and know the truth so we could help people who don't. Um, and I have friends who aren't like, not all of my friends are Christian. Like, I have some Christian friends who are non-believers, and it hasn't changed our relationship at all. If anything, it made us closer because it's kind of like now they want to see like Gold change, and she's like this totally different person, and she's so much more um, filled, and I want to know what that's about. So they kind of want to know more about it,
Mm.
you know? So it's like I always tell like people who are new believers, don't feel like you have to stop talking to people who aren't Christian just because like they don't have the same faith as you, because you never know how you can change their life or like how they can even help you understand how to be more relatable, you know?
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. I see what you mean. I think there's definitely some value in having other people around you. Like, I mean, for me personally, I of course I have the friends in the group chat, but sort of the same thing in a way. Um, I just think there's so much value in other people's perspectives. I love meditation myself. You know what I mean? I think it really helps me, especially with stretching, exercising, centering my mind. Um, I think that's really good. So I just want to pivot. I just want to pivot for a second and talk about how it was growing up being Nigerian in America. How was that? And you belong to what tribe? I want to be very specific. What was that?
Igbo.
Igbo. Okay, so you believe you belong to the Igbo tribe. Is there differences within the tribe? Can you sort of educate the listeners?
Yes, there's a huge difference. Nigerians are very competitive, and
They're
it's
scammers.
yeah, we are the number one scammers. I'm telling you, we are like, oh my gosh, I have so many stories. My uncles are scammers, some of them, um, great scammers actually. So, yeah, so for the tribes, okay, so I'm Igbo, and like the other prominent tribe is the Yoruba tribe. Um, And there's like certain differences. So the Igbo people, we're like more like browner and light skin in complexion. And we also have gaps. Like a lot of the females and the guys, they have gaps, right?
Gaps in their
And
teeth?
mhm, like
Okay.
this, yeah. And the Yoruba people, they're like very dark. Like they're dark. So you can kind of tell the difference between the two. And they're like very, and we have two different languages too.
And is that, and just going off the complexion of the skin, is that because they're closer to the equator, or how does that work? Well, what do you ascertain about that? Like,
I think it was like a cultural thing. Like I think when where we originated from, it was more. It was. I think it was the equator thing. It was like a little further from the equator. They were like more. I think we came from the west and they came from the north. You know, and it's
mm,
kind of like that's what happened. And it's kind of like they they are, I feel like they're mixed with like other different African tribes outside of Nigeria, and like so are we. So like, but we just ended up coming to the same place, like country, if that makes
makes
sense.
sense. It makes total sense. Yeah. So how was that growing up? I mean,
Mhm. Um, it was interesting because like there's always a competition of who's better and why they're better, and like they actually had a civil war too in the 60s. And my dad, he was actually like 7 during that time period, so he would tell me about how like scary it was to see like Yoruba soldiers coming and invading their villages, like destroying, burning down things. Like my dad said him and like the family always had to like move around so they wouldn't get captured. And like his father, my grandpa, he was in the army at the time, so he wasn't even home. So like it was just like my dad, his 6 brothers, 2 sisters, my grandma, and like our whole family just traveling around trying not to get caught by like Yoruba soldiers and stuff.
oh, whoa. I mean, that's definitely a story. I feel as though
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people can probably relate to that. I mean, coming from Africa and then, the different countries and the prevalent civil war there.
Right.
So you guys, he was in that. So how has that sort of affected the trajectory of your family, socioeconomic status, coming to America? When did you guys come here? All that type of stuff.
So after the war, they kind of just gave the Yoruba people, like they won the war basically. So like they started taking more dominion over Nigeria, like over the businesses and everything. And like they're the ones who kind of make all the rules. And like that's what there's always this that's what there's always this kind of like debate and stuff between it. But my dad told me that in Nigeria when he was growing up, it was kind of like the business was great and our currency was actually higher than American dollar, which is crazy. Like during that time period he was there, so it was great. He was making a lot of money, and he was like, you know what, I think I could come to America.
I will definitely have to fact check that though. Just saying.
You can, yeah. But the currency dropped way low now. Like now it's dirt. It's dirt.
Yeah.
Like it's not good. But in the 80s, it was really good. Um, and like he came here and he was like, all right, like now I'm here and I want to bring my wife over here. So then he brought my mom over here. And they're like, okay, like their plan wasn't to stay here for that long. Like they thought they were just going to be here for a couple years, make some money, and go back and live in Nigeria. That's what they all thought, honestly. They were gonna.
Really, really.
Mm-hmm. That's what
Wow.
they.
I couldn't. I mean, I'm not gonna say I couldn't see somebody doing that because I have friends who, are from different countries and they go back or they visit or their parents visit,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So there, of course, there are other good lives outside of America. I definitely want people to know that because that's a fact.
Mhm.
Um, but I think during that time, so what happened? Did they just stay? Did they get swept up in the American life?
They got here and then they realized they're like things in Nigeria were getting worse. Like after they left, Nigeria started to plummet down. Like the government got so corrupt, the currency dropped. There was an increase in like kidnapping, scamming. The employment rate went down. Like it just plummeted so badly that my parents were like, you know what, we're just gonna stay here until things in Nigeria get better. But they kind of never got better. So like, yeah, it kind of never got better. So they're like, you know what, we're just gonna stay here and do what you got to do, work. And then my mom started working. She got her degree here. My dad got their degree. all my uncles and stuff got their degrees, so they just stayed here. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think that's a testament to the opportunities that are in America for everyone, for, I mean,
Right.
whites, blacks, African Americans. I mean, that's a testament to, well, I mean, specifically to immigrants coming to this country. It's a land of opportunity for sure.
It is. So you kind of see like why like kind of Africans have this mentality that coming to America brings so much opportunity. You know, like they came here and like they actually made a good living. They got like their education brought them well. And it's kind of like they're thinking like, all right, well, now that our kids are going to be born here, they're going to have even a better benefit than we did because they're actually born in this country. And like they don't have to struggle the way we did to come all the way to America and get our visas and all that stuff. Like they're established here. You know?
Who are you saying, your parents, or what do you mean?
Well, that's how they felt about us, like having kids here, like that the
Oh,
kids can be more secure and everything because they don't have to deal with like all the hassle that we did of coming here, getting their visas, assimilating to the culture and all that stuff.
born right in. So how do you sort of relate to other blacks, whether it be African Americans or Haitians or Jamaica, also I mean, West Indians? How do you relate to them? And even more specifically, actually, I want to talk to the African American struggle. Like, do you relate to that? How do you feel about that?
So I feel like all um I can say at least foreign Africans have this mentality that because they're in this country, well, their parents like brought them here and they were born here, that they have no choice but to be successful. Like we have to succeed. It's not an option. It's not you're here now you have to be successful because your parents really suffered to get here, and you don't take advantage of opportunities. Like you just have to do everything. We're so focused on trying to succeed that we know racism is going on. Like we know all these things are going on, but our parents are just pushing on us. You have to do well. You have to do well. Keep doing well. You have to do well. And it's kind of like you're just so focused on striving that you don't even notice that all that other stuff going on. Like I can honestly say that some Africans are very like insensitive and ignorant to like African American slavery and oppression and all that stuff just because they didn't go through it and they don't really understand it. So they're very ignorant about it. But it's a reality that we can't change because once we're here, everyone sees us as being black. It's not really about culture anymore, you
Straight
know?
up, straight up. I mean, I think that's definitely a powerful statement. So, like my friend Jonathan, he said to me the other day, he said, well, just a little background about him. He's Haitian. He'll be on the podcast to talk more about this, but he's Haitian. And growing up, it was a very insulated Haitian culture. I mean, you are Haitian, you're not black. So he had to take the steps growing up to, as he put it, domesticate his mentality, meaning researching, okay, what is happening, what was the history, so that he can understand the lens in which he's viewed. Even though he's not viewed like that at home or his parents don't completely connect, he had to understand the lens in which he's viewed so that he knows how to operate, or that he can empathize, or that he can say, oh no, this did happen, and fight that fight. So,
Yeah.
how do you go about that? I mean, I'm not going to say protest or anything, but like, how do you handle that on a day-to-day, I should say?
I feel like it's just supporting, like being a part of the movement, and not only just going out there and protesting, but actually genuinely caring that, all right, like this is actually a problem for all of us. And like just making people not ignorant about it. Like I can honestly say, like, I feel like it's even deeper, even for like um the African perspective, because like there's prejudice within Africans and black people as well. Like African parents think that black people are crazy, like not crazy, but they have like this view of their mind of them, like from that they're just like not good and that they cause trouble. So like that's even a problem within itself, like them thinking and having that stereotype about black people when you guys are black too. It's just like trying to correct that and let them see that, okay, like it's not just a culture thing. Like understand that when you come here, we're all black, mom and dad, like we're black too, like we're a part of this too. Like I have two older brothers, like if my brothers got stopped by the cops, like they're not gonna see, oh, you're a Nigerian
They
African.
black.
Yeah, like
They
you're
still gonna be black.
big, bro, like you're black as hell. Like, come on, like there's nothing that's gonna really show that you're different. So it's just understanding, not being insensitive to the culture, like not being insensitive to the fact that we are part of this too, because we are all the same color. And if you think about it, people all over the world, where there's black people, there's some type of racism and prejudice all around the world. In France, in Switzerland, in all of these countries, like when there's colored people, there's just always some type of racism and prejudice wherever they go. You
No,
know?
absolutely. So, with that being said, I definitely want to ask you specifically, what have you done, or things you've watched, or things you've read to educate yourself about that, specifically in America?
Well, the last thing I really watched, it wasn't the last thing, but something I really watched that made me really like deeply understand was the documentary The 13th on Netflix.
By Ava DuVernay.
Yeah. And the way they broke down like the incarceration of black people and how it's just like how systematic it is, it really made me like shook, because I'm like, wow, like they're really out to incarcerate as much black people as they could, and they put these specific circumstances on them for them to be arrested, and it's just been planted into their neighborhoods and everything for them not to succeed. And when I looked at it like that, I'm like, wow, like it's really that deep. Like they're actually really targeting black people and black communities. And I was like, wow, like that's so, like I feel like that's the first time, like I always knew about it. I knew about Jim Crow, all of that stuff. Like in high school, you learn about it. But watching that documentary, like I was really like, wow, like this is a systematic thing. Like this is actually deep, and this could affect me as well because I'm black.
100%. And I think that it's so important to not just for, again, like we're talking specifically now, Africans understanding it, but everyone to understand it. So you've got, I just want to read off a couple things. You've got stuff like The Uncomfortable Truth on Amazon Prime. Like you talked about, the 13th by Ava DuVernay on Netflix, the Trial by Media, the Amadou Diallo 41 Shots case. That's also on Netflix. There's so many things, and I can just go down the list. One more is like a timeline of events that led to the 2020 Fed Up Uprising, The Root. Like that's a book. There's so much stuff and information out there that we have to have everyone go read. You have to go out there, because when you're in the school system, so much of it is watered down. Like so much of it is watered down or skipped over. Just here being in Connecticut, or even being in the school system in Florida, to sort of give you a difference. So much of it is watered down. I feel like we definitely have to take measures to go out there and learn
Yeah,
all of it. Yeah.
definitely. They should even implement like, I don't know, deeper like Black history under like classes in high schools. Like I really think they should do that. Like I really think they
100%.
should do that. I mean, like I just feel like when you're educated when you're younger, it gives you a better understanding about it as you get older. Like it's kind of, I wish this is something I kind of knew and learned more about when I was younger, and like I wasn't just spoon fed the you're African, so don't be like the Black Americans. But that's such a crazy thing to say. Like look at the division amongst the African and Black community. Like that's a problem. That's a deep problem. I think that's really a deep problem. And like just not making sure your kids aren't growing up thinking that they have a better opportunity because they're African.
No, well, I think you're so right. Because just, I mean, a quick anecdote. Um, I love, so like, again, I was down in Flatbush, Brooklyn, with my friend John,
Mm-hmm.
and he put me on to Haitian patties, these like salt fish patties, whatever. When I mean I love these things, I love them. So we go to this local shop ran by Haitians, Black owned business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I come in, um, and I'm talking, and there's just this immediate, innate uncomfortability, right? And at first I'm looking at myself, okay, I'm always looking at what can I do? What can I do? Maybe am I sort of in my own head, stuff like that. But then time and time again, I'd go back, and it's the same thing. I ask for something, they bring me out the burnt ones, you know what I mean? Or I ask for something and they don't even say you're welcome. Or I'm coming from yes ma'am, no ma'am. Oh, super, super respect. And of course it's a black owned business. So I'm going to spend money when I go there. The patties only cost, $6 for, you get a lot of them. I'm spending $30, $40. I'm really trying to help them. And not saying I want anybody to say thank you, but just the fact that I was in that space and like you said, that divide, I still felt, dag. You know what I mean? I'm trying to literally have a conversation and you're still not having a conversation, or there's a dirty look and stuff like that. So I was really like appalled. Like when I first went down there a couple of years ago, and I was just like, whoa, like this is really, really bigger. And I feel like that just goes more to that disconnect. On both sides.
That's really deep. Like that could kind of make you feel like, damn, or like I'm not accepted here, but then my own actual like culture, Africans, they're not even accepting me either. Like that's deep.
Yeah. I mean, it's super huge, especially like being biracial, seeing different sides and speaking to different people of different sides of my family. I was blessed enough to see it and understand it from different perspectives. But even more so, how I'm viewed, I'm a black male, right? Society doesn't allow you to say, oh, well, no, I'm Jewish. I could, this is blah, 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 or maybe even explain that. Oh, I'm Italian, blah, blah, blah. No. You're looked at this, so this is how you're viewed. So I'm like, okay, if that's it, I'm going to own it. And it is what it is. So when I go into those communities, like I was just talking about, like the Haitian place, I want to dive in. I want to bring people. I tell people, we talk about it. So I just think that there has to be definitely a movement, like you said, within the black community in total to sort of bind together and appreciate one another and speak to one another and hold one another accountable and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because it's like the division starts amongst ourselves sometimes. And even sidetracking back to what we were talking about like the different tribes in Nigeria, there's competition and division with themselves too. And it's just like the division is deeply rooted even back to them. Like they're even divided amongst themselves, and like they live in the same country. Like, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like sometimes I feel like it's a lot of like micro things that lead to macro things. Like it's a lot of like inner things that manifest in the physical as things that's going on now. So like if you're not internally dealing with certain things like this will happen. Like what's the root cause, like the root cause in yourself of why you even treat people that way, of why you're talking to people that way. And it's kind of like you have to, it's corny and everybody says this all the time, but you really have to change yourself first. Like you can't be out here trying to change a whole community. Like, all right, let's come together and let's change this, but you're still the same person internally and you still have the same issues that you're dealing with internally. It's just going to keep reflecting on the outside of your life continuously. So it's like, let's backtrack. Like, what is the root cause in ourselves that really make us see people this way and treat people this way? And it's like, if you think about it, it's really like a heart issue for a lot of people. Like a lot of people have really shitty hearts and they're really crappy. Like, and it's kind of like, really? And it's just like, all right, well, what can we do to make you a better person? And if you talk to some people, like you see that a lot of people have the same issues and a lot of people have a lot of brokenness in their hearts and a lot of lack of love and a lot of fear and stuff that they're going through. And it really makes them, it reflects on the outside with how they treat people. So it's really like an internal thing. Like we need to we're looking for root causes, but I'm like, the root cause starts within ourselves so much. Like, how can we change ourselves to make ourselves better people for the world? Like, I always think about, my favorite quote is like, as above, so below. So it's kind of like on the inside, you're going to reflect what's going on with you on the outside. So what's going on and how can we fix this? You know?
Wow.
And
Wow. I mean, that's so powerful. You said it, as above, so below. Wow. Wow. I love that. I absolutely love that. So as we sort of wind down here and wrap up, I definitely want to, of course, George Floyd, we talked about that privately, within group chat. I talked about that with a lot of other people, but sort of like moving forward, as we wrap up here, what are the steps that you think we should take, whether it be political steps or policies, or maybe when you go back to school on your campus? Like, what's your vision on how to move forward?
Well, I think a major thing is I feel like it's just the lack of justice that we see that makes people like get this angry. Like, I think first of all, to start with, justice needs to happen. They need to arrest those men. Like,
They did. They did. All four of them got arrested. Yeah.
are they being charged? Are they actually going to prison?
I think we have to look at that a little further. I don't have the facts in front of me, but I know they have been arrested and they have been charged. But will justice be served? I think that's a whole nother uphill battle.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like it starts there, but like I'm thinking like, all right, so what's gonna happen when justice is served and they actually, let's say they actually do go to prison and they're charged a good sentence, then what? Is the problem over? Or like what's next? What's the problem after that? And it's kind of like, all right, well, we still have police brutality going on and police still viewing Black people this way. Okay, like what are we gonna do about that? How can you make a whole group of people stop viewing another race a certain way? Like how? And it's kind of like I feel like that has been like the ongoing issue for years, and it's kind of like we keep doing the same things expecting a different outcome, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like if you keep doing the same thing and you get the same outcome, then something isn't being done properly. Like there needs to be another approach. So I'm like, all right, maybe this time, this is just my opinion, I'm like, maybe this time we need to do a more internal approach. And I'm always going to do that because I'm just a psychologist. Like I have a psychological mind. Like I think about the deeper things about human emotion. So I'm just like, all right, well, I really do think that this is something that the human race has to deal with internally. Like this stuff like this isn't going to stop happening because realistically, I saw a post that was like, the problem isn't white against Blacks, it's the people against racist. Like it's people against racist people.
Wow, okay.
You know, which makes sense because there's a lot of racists in the world in general, like, and it's an illness. It's actually like a really sick thing to have to deal with. And I feel like that's the major problem. Like instead of like white and Black people thinking that, yes, the problem is with us, like I need to stop viewing you this way, because realistically there's some white people who aren't racist and some Black people who aren't racist as well. And I think the problem needs to be against the racist people, the racist group of people in the world, and why they think that it's okay to think that way and do those things about people. And if you think back to it, a lot of them are raised to be racist by their parents. Like it's like it's like generational racism, if that makes sense. Like
yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. Because it's not inherent, it's taught. 100%.
It's taught. So it's like, I personally don't feel like anything will be able to really, they can make policies and the policies will help, the laws will help if they like really enforce and train cops the way they need to be trained. This thing could really slow down at a different rate. It doesn't have to always go this way. If they're trained to not automatically look at a Black person and think that they're a threat, things won't have to be this way continuously. And it's that it starts there making those changes, but then at the end of the day, there's still a heart issue that humans have to deal with within themselves at the end of the day. Policies and laws can be made, but it's like internally the cop is like, let's say the cop is trained to stop being raped, like to stop attacking black people. Like, all right, they're gonna do it because that's their job, but they probably really want to attack that Black person. So then it just becomes an internal problem with themselves that they have to deal with.
Wow, that's huge. Well, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. You really opened up a lot, and I personally appreciate it. I want to say thank you so much, and I think this has been a great conversation. And I can't wait to have you back. Of course, as always, guys, it gets real. We got real. Any last words, Gold, before we head out?
No, this is a great podcast, and I really hope, I can't wait for it to grow, and you're going to have way more people on here. I already know it, and this is just a good platform for you. I can see you doing this for a while.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. But, and I think that mostly, like with you being said, thank you for those words. it has to be everyone's platform, right? It's, you know what I mean, gold. Do you know anybody who should be up here so they can get their message out and blah, 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 and sharing it to where people have ownership over it. And I spoke about this on my last podcast. I want people to have ownership over this platform to where it's like, oh, they need to be up there. We need to go and hear that because my guy's up there or this powerful person's up there. So I definitely want to grow, and I'm hoping and I'm praying. So thank you so much. Thank you guys. This was it. It was really fun. As always, thank you to Law for the beats. Thank you to Vision for supporting us. Thank you for everyone for your support. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it.